yeah.
All right, everybody, buckle up, because today we're diving into a book that'll really make you question everything you thought you knew about, well, reality itself.
We're talking about Michael Talbot's The Holographic Universe.
And let me tell you, this book doesn't pull any punches.
It jumps right in with this big question. What if the universe isn't made of matter and energy like we usually think?
Like atoms and quarks and all that.
Exactly. What if, instead, it's all just information?
Okay, I'm already feeling a little mind blown here. So instead of like a giant cosmic machine, we're talking about a giant cosmic computer.
Kind of. Think of it like this. Every single piece of the universe, no matter how small, contains information about the whole thing. Just like, you know how a tiny fragment of a hologram can still recreate the entire image?
Yeah, it's like those little holographic stickers you see, where even a tiny piece has the whole picture, just a bit fuzzier.
Exactly.
So you're saying the universe is like that, but on a cosmic scale?
Right, and our brains might be mini versions of that same principle.
Wait, are you saying my brain is basically a holographic sticker?
In a way. Think about a memory, any memory. In the traditional view, that memory would be stored in a specific location in your brain. But what if, and this is where Talbot gets really interesting, what if those memories are spread out throughout your brain like a holographic image?
So instead of being like a file in a specific folder on a computer, it's more like the whole hard drive is involved in recreating that memory.
Exactly. And that leads to some really mind-blowing possibilities. It means that even though we experience the world as separate individuals, we might be much more interconnected than we realize.
Okay, so we've got this universe potentially made of information, and our brains might be working like holograms. But Talbot takes it even further with these ideas of, what does he call them?
The implicate and explicate orders.
Right, those. Now, those always sounded kind of intimidating to me, like something you'd only hear in a philosophy lecture. Can you break those down a bit?
Absolutely. So think of the explicate order as our everyday reality. You know, the chair you're sitting on, the sound of my voice, the feeling of time passing. It's the world of separate defined objects.
Okay, the world we interact with seems pretty straightforward.
Right. But then there's the implicate order. This is where things get really interesting. Think of it at a deeper, more fundamental level of reality. It's a realm of pure potential where everything is interconnected, kind of like a cosmic soup of possibilities from which our familiar reality emerges.
Okay, so if the explicate order is like the finished product, the implicate order is like the blueprint.
That's a good way to put it. Or another analogy Talbot uses is a flowing stream. Imagine the swirling water as the implicate order, constantly moving and changing, and then picture the ripples on the surface of the water. Those ripples are like the explicate order, temporary forms that arise from that deeper flow.
So our whole reality, everything we see and touch and experience, it's just like ripples on the surface of some deeper cosmic stream.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And if that's true, it kind of throws everything we think we know about the universe upside down.
Yeah, to say the least. All right, so we've got this universe potentially made of information, our brains acting like holograms, and this whole implicate and explicate order thing going on. But how does that actually, play out in our lives? What does it mean for how we experience the world?
Well, that's where Talbot really starts to challenge our everyday assumptions. Like, take time, for instance.
Okay, time travel. I knew we'd get there eventually. Is Talbot saying we could be hopping into DeLoreans anytime soon?
Not exactly. But he does challenge the traditional idea that time is linear, with the past gone, the present happening now, and the future yet to be.
Honestly, the idea of the past being gone forever is kind of a bummer.
Well, what if it's not? What if, in a holographic universe, all of time, from the Big Bang to your last birthday, is actually interconnected and present within that vast information field we talked about? It's not about literally traveling through time, but about how we access and experience it.
So you're saying all those moments are still out there, like recordings in some cosmic library?
In a sense, yes. And if that's true, what would that mean for our understanding of, say, intuition, even premonitions?
Wait, are you saying my gut feeling to order the apple pie instead of the cheesecake was me tapping into the future of my taste buds?
It's a fun thought experiment, right? If the future already exists as a potential within the implicate order, maybe what we perceive as precognition is really just our consciousness catching glimpses of those possibilities. It's not so much about predicting a fixed future, but becoming aware of the possibilities that already exist within this cosmic hologram.
Okay, that's way cooler than just being predictable with my dessert choices. But all right, let's talk about the really out there stuff. Talbot spends a lot of time on psychic phenomena, things like telepathy. Does he think that stuff is actually real?
It's open to interpretation whether or not he believed it definitively. But the fascinating thing is how he uses the holographic model to approach those questions. If our minds are all part of this interconnected field of information, then maybe our thoughts and feelings aren't as locked away inside our heads as we tend to think.
So instead of actually transmitting thoughts across space, maybe telepathy is more like two minds accessing the same information in that universal hard drive.
Exactly. It's not about sending signals, but about the potential for shared experience within the implicate order. It makes you question how solid our individuality really is, and if we might be part of something much vaster.
Okay, that is a lot to wrap my head around, but we haven't even touched on what this means for consciousness itself. If the holographic model changes how we understand the universe out there, what about the universe in here?
Welcome back, deep divers. Ready to really stretch our minds. We've talked about holographic brains, a universe made of information, even dipped our toes into psychic phenomena. But now we're going even deeper. We're talking about consciousness itself.
Right, because if the universe is this kind of grand interconnected hologram, it makes you wonder who's doing the projecting? Where does our awareness, our experience of being, fit into this mind-blowing picture?
Yeah, it's like, so far we've been talking about our brains maybe working like holograms, but is Talbot suggesting that consciousness itself is also holographic somehow? That's where things get really wild. He points to certain findings in quantum physics, things like the observer effect, which suggests that just by observing something, we might actually be changing it.
Right, the observer effects. That's always tripped me up a bit, honestly.
It's a head-scratcher for sure. To put it simply, it suggests that even at the subatomic level, just by looking at something, we're not just passive observers. Our observation, our awareness, might actually be influencing what's happening.
So it's like our attention has a power we don't usually realize.
Exactly. And if you think about it in the context of the holographic universe, if the universe really is this projection of information, then maybe consciousness isn't just watching the movie. Maybe it's playing a role in writing the script as it goes along.
Whoa, okay, so we're not just watching the movie, we're somehow influencing the plot.
That's the idea. And this leads to an even bigger, even more mind-blowing possibility. What if consciousness isn't just a byproduct of our complex brains, but a fundamental aspect of reality itself?
Okay, now we're getting into territory where my vocabulary just doesn't have the words for. A conscious universe. Help me out here.
It's not that the universe has feelings or thoughts as we understand them. Think of it more like consciousness is woven into the very fabric of existence, like gravity or electromagnetism.
So it's less about asking, like, what is consciousness doing in the universe, and more like, what if the universe is in some way conscious?
Exactly. It's like our individual consciousness, the experience of being you or me, it's like a single wave on this vast ocean of cosmic consciousness. We experience the world as separate beings, but we're also part of something much, much greater.
That's a beautiful thought, but honestly, it's a lot to process. If this is true, how do we even begin to grasp what it means for us, for how we live our lives?
That's the challenge Talbot leaves us with. He doesn't give us a set of instructions, but he does offer a radically new way of seeing ourselves and the world around us. It's an invitation to embrace the mystery, to recognize the interconnectedness of everything, and maybe to acknowledge the potential power of our own awareness.
So it's less about proving any of this definitively and more about how this new perspective might change us.
Right. The holographic universe ultimately is about opening our minds to possibilities, to questioning our assumptions, and realizing that reality might be far stranger, far more wondrous than we could ever have imagined.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder this final question. If our reality is a kind of holographic projection, then who or what is holding the projector? Keep exploring, keep asking the big questions, and thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive.